But what got me as I'm walking out of there is I thought, they banned my book. Kind of. They didn't really ban it. They censored it. But there was this, and I started going back and thinking, you know, what's the deal here? Because I mean, this is a lumber town. Everybody talks like the characters that I wrote. And I started going back and kind of getting some feedback on it, because my dad had been the chairman of the school board all the time I was in school and stuff, so he knew all these guys. And he said, well, you know, they really don't like this. They don't like kids bucking authority. And, you know, there's a lot of what you wrote in that book, they were cliches that came out of, you know, that came out of the teachers' mouths and coaches' mouths and things like that. And when they don't like it, they get rid of it. And I said, yeah, but isn't that like un-American? And that was a really interesting discussion, because I look back at this now. Now, if I get banned now anywhere in this country, it's going to be 95% by the conservative right. And they'll read the book sometimes. Sometimes they don't read the book. They'll just go through and look at the language. And they will go through and look at issues. And if their issue, you know, if you have a girl in a book that she had sex before she was married, oh, got to get rid of that. You got a gay kid in the book and he's not a serial killer, got to get rid of that. I mean, they go through and they just, you know, and the internet. They have the internet, so it gets out, and it's a pretty intricate you know, set of avenues that they get the word out. Because a lot of times I will see one of my books challenged, and I'll read the language, and then it comes from clear across the country, and it's the same language. So there's this, you know, group of people who think, and it's a basic disagreement. The idea that we are responsible as adults to make sure that you don't get into your minds things that shouldn't be in your minds if you're under 18. And I'm thinking, you know what? I grew up in a high school. I taught alternative school for 10 years down in Oakland. I was a therapist here in town with child abuse and neglect for like 20 years. There is no way anybody's going to decide what you're going to think. And the things we don't talk about, the things that remain secrets, are the things that end up making us sick. And I had evidence of that. I had personal evidence of it in my own life. I had evidence from being a therapist. I had evidence from being an educator. And what was really interesting to me, when my dad was the same age I was when I graduated from college, he had already flown 35 missions over Germany as the pilot of a B-17. And he flew 11 missions before he came back with all his engines. And they used to say, as these guys are going out, that the pilots, look to your right, look to your left, one of you's not coming back. And on the really scary missions, they said, look to your right, look to your left, two of you aren't coming back. I mean, it was scary. And my dad was a patriot. I mean, if you were running, and he was smart, if you were running from anything from dog catcher to president of the United States in Valley County, Idaho, my old man was your campaign guy. And he'd have run a nail through his eye before he'd have let a book get banned on his watch, because he thought he fought a war for that. Well, that's a whole different thing now. Politics is different, and the mood of the country is different. So that gets to be the fight. And I tend to use my dad, you know, sometimes I say, well, you know, I knew this old fighter or this old bomber pilot, and he would take issue with that.